And I also want to give a special thanks again to our evaluators, whose names you can all see here: Hassan, Rena, Caitlin, Kelly, Justin, Maria Jose, Angie, Allison. And then for our final four, I am excited to introduce Maura Marino from Education for DC, Cheryl Thompson from the Schusterman Family Philanthropies, Landon Mascareñas from the Colorado Education Initiative, and Faida Fuller from Vital Voices Global Partnership. So they will be the evaluators for our final pitch. Lauren Bryant from StartOps.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Bryant, and I am the principal and founder of StartOps, where we build the capacity of school-based operations teams to co-create and sustain more equitable school-wide systems. Before we dive into the presentation, I want to share a little bit more with you about how I got here. So if you know me, then I've likely shared with you that morning arrival is my favorite time of the school day. And from 2015 to 2017, I got to work in collaboration with this beautiful group of people here at Ingenuity Prep in Ward 8 of Washington, DC. And morning arrival was a caffeine jolt to my day. And it was 30 minutes of nonstop connection with families. It was hugs, laughs, sometimes some consoling and some tears. And there was definitely a tasteful bit of joning. And for the ops team, it was a process that had been designed, redesigned, and practiced multiple times before students and staff ever engaged. Before kids like Rakaya and Peyton here ever showed up to school, our team was refining that process. Morning arrival is a pep rally, and it starts with the values, the systems, and the processes observed and implemented by operations teams. We had our roles, our plays, and our playbooks. And as I engaged with families, my team and I were also responsible for uniform checks. And if a student was out of compliance, policy required that we sent them to behavior support, sometimes for the duration of the day. At Ingenuity Prep, I was a member of a team. I thrived, I was supported, I was challenged, and I belonged. But sometimes when I had to send students to behavior support for a uniform infraction, it felt like I was performing and like I was acting out of alignment with who I was and the values that I hold true. And though I had access to PD, it wasn't always job aligned, and it was almost never identity affirming or equity rooted, providing me the tools to navigate those sticky situations where I had to stand by policies and decisions that I might not have believed in. 50% of closed charter schools in Washington, D.C. shutter because of operations. And since 1996, that totals to 23 schools. And if you ask any school leader across this city, they will share with you that operations team retention is hard year in and year out. And I know from personal experience that there is not one organization in this city providing equity-rooted, identity-based professional development for their operations teams. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a landscape of robust operations service providers making sure that our charter schools are delivering on their back office operational milestones, such as finance, grant compliance, and data. However, there's no intentional capacity builder for the entire team, the first-time ops director, that veteran enrollment specialist, or the emerging data manager. Operations professionals do not have consistent access to PD that is holistically combining job-aligned technical skill training with adaptive skill development within a team of empowered operation peers. At StartOps, we envision a future where schools provide more consistent and equitable outcomes for their most marginalized students by retaining their ops teams and refining operational practice. We are a boutique operations consulting firm that partners with schools to equip their operations teams with the tools, skills, and mindsets to cultivate more equitable school communities. We're supporting teams in navigating the unchanging calendar of critical annual ops milestones and the multitude of vital interdependent relationships across their school communities. And so by now you're probably wondering how in the world we do this. And so we do it by coaching, connecting, and building capacity. And so I'm going to share a few examples of what that work has looked like across these last few months. So in terms of coaching, I've gotten to partner with the DC Bilingual Public Charter School Bumblebees as they prepared for reopening across these last few months. They scaled up from supporting just a small group of 40 students at the start of February to now safely supporting over 150 students on site 4 days a week safely. As I think about connection, we know that there is power lying in community and that we can go farther together. And through an online platform, through an annual subscription model, we want to make sure that operations team members across schools are able to connect and tackle those critical operational milestones, but also support each other with the day-to-day challenges that come up with being an operations team member. We want to continue to provide these moments of coaching and connecting by building capacity at a sector level with intentional partnerships with nonprofits, funders, and other stakeholders in education to make sure that we're supporting the sector at large. Across the last several months, we had the unique opportunity to serve as the ops expert on a panel as a group of consultants working in partnership with the DC Public Charter School Board and the National Charter Schools Institute to design model reopening plans as school navigated changing guidance through COVID-19. And I do not do this work alone. I believe that the only way through is by leveraging abundant partnerships. And so I bring my project management skills and experience in early stage and new start charter schools, in addition to leading a national network of leaders of color in charter schools, to shaping our programs here at StartOps. You can think of me as the team manager turned coach. And I don't do this alone. I get to work with my fellow Georgetown Hoya Lam Nguyen, who's like my AI. He is the answer, experienced designer, making sure to cultivate these unique moments for our operations team members so that they can really thrive. As we look across the next several years, we see growing our impact outside of Washington, D.C. and cultivating communities across other nascent and more mature charter markets. And to do that, we've got to grow our team. And so here you can see how we plan to grow our exciting team of support. This early work is really about shifting mindsets around developing non-instructional teams. And as we look ahead, these next few school years will require that schools flex between virtual and in-person learning environments as we continue to navigate COVID-19. Operations teams, some of who have been on site since March 2020, will need support to continue to deliver on their expectations. We know that schools are already investing upwards of $18,000 annually on professional development for their teachers. And we know and have tested this with about 50% of the school leaders in the city that they're willing to budget $1,000 to $2,000 a year per team member to develop their operations staff members as they navigate these uncertain times. And we're going to start off this year by recruiting 200 founding DC members. And we will start that through our platform through Mighty Networks. And so I invite all of you to save the date for a 2-day conference this July. We're launching our membership recruitment. We're seeking $50,000 of investment, and this will include annual membership for all participants. And we're hoping that about 100 folks from across all LEAs will join us for this 2-day event. So in close, as I just want to leave you with one quote and a final ask. My favorite author, sci-fi prophet, and cultivator of thought, Octavia Butler, shares in her book, Parables of the Talents, kindness seizes change and love quiets fear. As you prepare for your evening and get ready for your own morning arrival tomorrow, whether to a school building, your office, or like me, just out of the bedroom to my desk, I ask that you say thank you to your essential team members, to your security guards, to your receptionists, to those behind the scenes superstars. Again, my name is Lauren Bryant. I'm the founder and principal here at StartOps, and I'm so excited to share a little bit more with how we hope to help schools thrive. Thank you.
Great work, Lauren. And so if we can have our evaluators join us on stage, Maura Marino, Cheryl Thompson, Landon, and Vaida.
Hi, Maura. Hi, Cheryl. Hey, Landon and Vaida. Thanks for being here.
All right. Please kick us off with our first question. Anyone can begin.
I'm happy to jump in. Thank you, Lauren, for that. I felt your passion and energy in your presentation, and I really appreciate that. And it just rang through. Even reading your narrative, I'm like, I can just feel that energy and appreciate it beyond compare. I would love for you to talk a little bit about, I saw you, those buckets that you popped up at the beginning at the different ways that you all work with them. Could you talk me a little bit through the membership piece? Is that just the online subscription? Is it like a la carte, or are there packages? Just love to hear a little bit more about how that works and what's included in the service offerings.
Yes, thanks so much for that question, Cheryl. So as we design our membership offerings for this first DC founding membership, it will include monthly problem-solving consultancies that are peer group focused. So the challenges of data managers are a bit different than the challenges for your enrollment specialists. And so on a monthly clip, we'll offer these problem-solving consultancies for folks to connect with peers in their shared roles. I believe that mindfulness is key to decision-making. And as y'all know, ops folks have to make a lot of decisions every single day. And so part of membership will also include Tuesday tune-ups. So whether it's mindfulness activities or yoga experiences with some of my favorite yogis across DC, wanting to offer live events in the portal where folks are able to show up to one place to tap in for live support, whether it's mindfulness activities, whether it's receiving content from experts, or diving deep into some of the adaptive and technical tools that we'll have available and some of the complimentary course content that comes along with that membership. Thank you, Cheryl.
One follow-up, and who pays for the membership?
Yeah, so we're envisioning that, well, hopefully with this first round, this $50,000 investment for our upcoming conference, that we will get some folks to purchase those for some folks to participate. But we are envisioning that membership will be purchased through schools for their individual team members, and will run on an annual cycle, July to July, to be able to support operations team members as they head into summer planning for the new school year and tackling those critical Q1 milestones across the fall. So yeah, we're thinking a July to July membership for operations team members.
I'll jump in here.
Hey, Faida.
Say thank you for this, Lauren. I reflect back to my time as an ops member in schools and was just kind of winging it. So I love that this is an offering you're providing, a big gap that you're filling with this. I noticed that you are seeking to expand to other regions pretty quickly, as soon as next year. So my question is, how will you know when you're ready to expand? What milestones, what will be the evidence of success so that you know you're ready to take the model to another region?
What a great question. Thanks so much for that. So as we think about growth, one of the intentions of deciding on Mighty Networks as the platform to host our community is that it allows for the growth of the online experience to happen with a click of a button. And so the growth from city to city will first start by establishing some of those seeds with individual connections and membership subscriptions so that folks will be able to join the community that we've already established here in DC. But then the more intentional growth we see coming from that, being generated from that kind of founding membership in that new city, and then partnering with the stakeholders on the ground to really get to know what is the context here. You know, I don't take for granted that I've been able to do this work in DC for over a decade. There are many things I don't think about anymore. And so what does it mean to intentionally take that step into a new space? And that will require abundant partnership and leveraging a lot of the connections I've been able to develop to really get to know the new cities and get to know the players and get to know how we can lean into our strengths here at StartOps and complement those skills and strengths with the right partnerships, whether funders, other ops professionals, or nonprofit partners. Thanks, Faida.
I'm happy to go next. Lauren, thank you so much for the presentation and thanks for sharing your plan with us. It was a pleasure to read because it was so authentically you, as Cheryl said, and you made a really clear case for a huge need in the city and around the country. So I learned a lot by reading it and I really appreciated it. You talked a little bit about some of the work that you've done this year. And I'm curious from those pilots, what you learned and how it's informed your thinking going into the summer and your first year.
For sure. Thank you so much for the question, Maura. So what's been so interesting for me in this experience, and I will try to keep this question answer short, is that it has allowed for me to time travel back into those moments where I was a member of an ops team. And I will tell you, I much rather support teams right now than be school-based, because those decisions every single day are so hard, right? And so as I think about what I've learned from teams across these last several months is that the malleability, the flexibility of ops teams is unmatched. And so what do we do to support that, to affirm that, and to hold space for that? And so that's one thing that I've learned is like, it really just comes down to holding space. And sometimes people just need the space to talk and reflect and sometimes vent. And then what does it mean when you provide that space and couple it with the content around adaptive skills? Because that's what a lot of this has been. It's been, how are you able to flex when you had a plan yesterday, but OSSI or the CDC changes things the next day, and you've got to flex and be able to change with that. And so really thinking about what does it look like to create those spaces, leaning in and really co-designing this with every single ops team member across this city. Like, their experiences I have, but I believe that this space is really meant to be co-created based on all the different perspectives and experiences that folks bring. I think another piece that I've learned here too is that operations and instructional collaboration isn't always easy. And so what does it look like as we take a step into the future of school, what will be required of schools moving forward, and think about what does it mean for operations teams to come with clarity around vision, clarity around the skills and their role in the building to the table with instructional teams, and really co-create ways for systems to really include all and to support students and staff during these uncertain times. So thanks for that question, Maura. I hope I gave you a good answer. Landon, I know I hadn't heard your voice yet. Lauren. And also please welcome Lamb here, who is the answer to my Big John coaching skills.
I'm loving the match between the shirts there. I love it.
I mean, we're a team. We've got to have our uniform, Landon.
Lauren, you are an excellent presentation. You are a passionate prophet of your purpose, which is systems change through operations. And it really comes through in your proposal and your business plan. It comes through in your presentation. And I just think if we learned anything in the COVID year, how essential operations are at the school level, and what you're offering is so sorely needed in the field. My question is, in your business plan and in your presentation, you refer to StartOps as a boutique program a couple different times, yet you make such a compelling case for this system level need, and you're operating at scale and thinking about new cities. How do you see that connection between the boutiqueness of the program and the urgent case for this across many schools and operations personnel that we know need what you're offering?
I love that. I love that. Thanks so much for that question, Landon. And it really does call me into question. What does it mean to take the idea of boutique and what we are able to craft that is so intentional right now, and how to scale that up? And that's something that we think about every single day. Lam will tell you, I think about it often because I'm very clear on my capacity. And so part of this is like, how do we get really clear on the experiences that have shaped my perspective, the experiences that, even in collaboration with Lam, we've known each other for a while, but have only worked really intimately together these last 3 months. And so what has it meant though for our own shared experiences to come together, but so deeply lean on that strengths-based leadership and giving folks space to build and co-create, but knowing that we've got some shared experiences. So Lam and I both have been trained in Caroline's Home model around the equity by design process. We think a lot about other things like emotional intelligence by Dan Goleman. And so as we're growing the work and network of coaches and content collaborators and partner organizations, thinking about what does it mean to get on board and become a part of our team? What is that onboarding process? How do you start to embody this ethos of StartOps? But Lam, I would love for you to offer any reflections there, given that you've been a part of joining this team and bringing in your perspective.
Yeah, I think the vision for like the macro approach that you're talking about is there. And I think like Lauren is working really hard to fill that capacity. I think the boutiqueness of it is kind of in the culture and in the approach. And I think like joining Lauren's team when it was just her, I kind of like understood that it's all about relationships. And even though like as we're scaling, Lauren makes a point that like really gets to know every single person that comes through our programming. And I think it's just really just that culture and the approach that is like really firmly rooted in the boutique aspect of startups.
Thanks, Leah.
All right, last round of applause for Lauren
Thank
and
you.
for Lim.